Welcome to Mathiat, and today we are going to be discussing about frequency, relative frequency, and percentage distribution. Now, what are we talking about when we talk about frequency? Okay, now statistics. Under the branch of statistics, we have to be very acquainted with certain words. For us to understand statistics, we need to just know certain words. They are must words. Words like frequency. Okay, now frequency is defined as how often a particular variable recurs or occurs, right? So how often does a particular variable repeat itself? Okay, if you are having an experiment and you are basically dealing with you are tossing a coin, and you know that a coin only has a head and tail, so you basically have two outcomes, either a head or a tail. So as you keep on tossing the coin, okay, how often are you getting the head and how often are you getting the tail? Basically, that is the frequency. So if you toss the coin 5 times and you realize that you had the heads 3 times, so 3 is the frequency of the head when you toss a coin 5 times, right? Now, relative frequency is just the frequency of a particular variable relative to the total frequency. Now we are going to understand that particular phenomenon later on, but let us expound the frequency aspect in the table below. Okay, we have a particular question. A sample of 30 persons who often consume donuts were asked what variety of donuts is their favorite. The responses from these 30 persons are as follows. So these are the responses. Some responded as their favorite being glazed, others frosted, others plain, others, and so on. So basically, these are the responses, right? And we are going to term them as variables. Okay, variables. Now, if these are our variables, what we are saying is then our variables, okay, our variables will be glazed, frosted, we have filled, we have plain, and we have others. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Basically, these are our variables. Okay, now how often do they occur, right? Or do they recur in the particular table is then what we are going to call as frequency. Okay, the often-ness of their occurrence. Okay, if we are taking that approach, what we are saying then is we begin counting how many times they occur. So let's take, for instance, glazed. I am going to choose a different color just for the purposes of illustrating. Glazed appears 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. So under glazed, we know that the frequency is 8 because it is coming up 8 times. Okay, what about frosted? What about frosted? We know that we have frost here, frost 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So it's 5 times. Okay, let's now continue doing for the rest of the table to fill it up. Okay, so this is what we come up with after adding the, after determining our frequency, right? And now one thing we need to note, remember the experiment has 30 participants. So these are the 30 people that were asked. The frequency, the summation of the frequencies should always give you, so summation should give you the total number of the participants. So if you add 8 plus 5 plus 7 plus 3 plus 7, it should give you 30, right? Now, this is about the frequency, how often a particular variable occurs. Now, let's talk about relative frequency. Relative frequency is the frequency of a particular variable relative to the total frequency. Now, we have the total frequency of 30. Now, then each variable has its own frequency. Glazed has a frequency of 8 or appears 8 times. Now, what is the relation? What is 8 relative to 30? Okay, basically is what relative frequency is. Now, having said that, relative frequency, which I'm going to denote by RF, is 8 relative to 30. So basically, you just divide 8 divided by the total frequency. So the variable divided by total frequency. Okay, and this should give us what is 8 divided by 30. 8 divided by 30. It is giving 0.26, or if I round it off to only one decimal place, it's going to be 0. I'll round it off to two decimal places. It's going to be 0.27. 0.27. All right. So I'll do the next one. Okay. So the next one is the relative frequency of frosted responses. We have 5 divided by the total, which is 30, and it will give us, what is 5 divided by 30? It is 0.17. 0.17, right? Okay, so let's do that to all of these others. Okay, so basically that is our relative frequency for all of them. Okay, 0.27, 0.17, 0.23, 0.1, and 0.23, right? Now, also under relative frequency, the summation of these variables should always give you 1, right? The summation of the variables that you've calculated. If you find above 1 or below 1, then you should have made a particular mistake. So you look at your work. All right. Now we look at the last one, which is the percentage. I think this is the easiest. Percentage. Okay. This is the easiest. Basically, you just convert your particular decimals here, your relative frequency, into percentages. And you know that you do that by multiplying by 100, right? So if you multiply 0.27 by 100, it will give you 27%. This would be 17%. This would be 23%. This will be 10%. And this will be 23%. Now, if you add all these, you should also be able to get 100%. Now, that is our table. We've basically constructed, oopsie. Yeah, so we've basically constructed our relative frequency table. All right, and that was it. So basically, it is as simple as that. Okay, see you in our next lecture.